Yu-Gi-Oh! Has been such a big thing in my life. I've been playing the game since I was about 9 years old. I was in 3rd grade. I started watching the show at a very young age, and it just became like that, an instant, giant part of my life. And I don't know if anyone could have seen just how big it would have gotten, especially since when you think of TCGs or trading card games, you think of, like Magic the Gathering, maybe even Pokemon. Yu-Gi-Oh! Being a giant card game. I don't think anyone could have seen just how big it was really going to become. And to see the impact that the game has made, and just to kind of get into the scope of things, it's honestly quite amazing how the game has just evolved. I don't think anyone could have predicted just how fast it would have taken off.
Exodia! Obliterate! Winged Dragon of Roar!
Fusion Summon! There he is! The elemental hero, Flame Wingman!
Synchro Summon! Take flight, Stardust Dragon!
Galaxy Summon number 39, Utopia!
It's time to
Just the impact of Yu-Gi-Oh! as just a concept, as as a TCG and as a show. I think it's left its mark on pop culture. I mean, in the United States, it's not up there with like maybe Marvel or DC or any kind of celebrity thing or whatever, but there is a fan base, a very big fan base there, and for me personally, it has become a very big hobby for me, and I absolutely love the game. I love playing it, I love talking about it, I love just everything about it, some of the art, the designs, the concepts of archetypes. When you look at the show, obviously the biggest theme of that show is like friendship and togetherness and bonds. And I almost feel like in real life that's kind of happened to me. I've made a lot of friends off of the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! I've made a lot of friends. I've made a lot of connections. I've met a lot of really good people who because of the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! And it's almost like the show itself, but in real life, as crazy as it sounds. And I definitely don't ever want there to come the day where we have to duel in a game of Yu-Gi-Oh! For the fate of the world or anything like that. So it's definitely a game that has left an impact, to say the least. I think it's going to be a game that just lasts a long time. Some of the changes that they've made were definitely to the game itself have been very questionable at first, and I think it's a bit of a risk on Konami's part, but I think it's a game that's going to be around in the long run. I think it's going to be up there, and I would argue it already is up there with like Magic and maybe even Dungeons and Dragons, or kind of that fantasy element. I think Yu-Gi-Oh has carried itself rather well throughout the years, and I think it will. I think it'll grow. I think it'll continue to grow, and it'll become a very popular part of pop culture, which it kind of already is. So I think it's only going to get better from here on out.
Draw your last pathetic card so I can end this, Yugi.
My grandpa's deck has no pathetic cards, Kaiba, but it does contain the unstoppable Exodia.
So the first show, which is titled Duel Monsters, it always holds a very special place in mine, and a lot of people who grew up with the show or still play the game. I think it's very much unanimous that all of us started watching the show, and that was our first introduction to the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! I think of, like, some of the most famous things that have ever come out of that show, like, the famous Exodia summoning, or the Egyptian God cards. I remember the impact that it had on me and my cousins. And some of my friends, we used to buy booster packs, like, Metal Raiders, and always just bet that we were going to get Exodia. Never got any of the pieces. The show also, because the show didn't follow the rules, we didn't really follow the rules either. We wouldn't play tribute. We wouldn't. We didn't follow, like, what the cards would say. It was just all about, like, what the show told us. So we definitely didn't play by the rules, and I come to find out I wasn't alone in this. There was a lot of people who played the game early on didn't play by the rules, unless you're going to tournaments. But I never really was interested in tournament play, not until recently. But the show had such a unique cast of characters. You had Yugi, Yamayugi, or Atem, as he's actually named. You had Joey, Kaiba, Taya, Tristan, Duke Devlin, Pegasus, Merrick, Bakura. I mean, there were so many different characters, and obviously I'm using the English versions, the dub versions of the characters' names, because that's the version that I was introduced to as a kid, and that's the version that a lot of us were introduced to as a kid. I remember being, like, so into what was going on, and at the core of it, it's basically a show where good guys and bad guys clash, and the way they fight it out is a children's card game. It's amazing how serious the show took itself. Looking back on it, it was amazing. It was awesome. I absolutely love the way it's built. And there's some really great duels in the original Duel Monsters. The first duel between Yugi and Kaiba is always a favorite of mine, even though it doesn't follow the rules. I think the Battle City arc was pretty fun. I think my favorite duel is a draw between Yugi versus Kaiba in the Battle City semifinals and Yugi versus Atem, which was the series finale. It's just both those duels are so intense, and story-wise, they're really fun to watch. I still watch reruns of the show nowadays, every now and again. just for like just to kind of like have a little bit of nostalgia. And that's really the best thing I could say about the original show is whenever I see anything from it, it just sentimental waves of nostalgia just cloud over me, and I love every second of it.
Just the card to unite them. Polymerization. Join Avian and Burstinatrix. Fusion Summon. There he is, the elemental hero, Flame Wingman.
Yu-Gi-Oh! GX came out after Duel Monsters, and I actually remember seeing a preview for it on Magoozy. I had no idea that they were even still doing the show. But Yu-Gi-Oh! GX is a show that came out. I was in middle school. I was 13, I think I remember when that show came out. 12, 13, something like that. I was like a preteen, early stages of being a teenager. I have such fond memories of that because that's when Elemental Heroes became very popular. And it actually resurrected my interest in Yu-Gi-Oh! I kind of dropped away from the game. I wasn't really into it anymore. It wasn't viewed as cool when, you know, after a while. So, and obviously I was in middle school. I was trying to find where I fit in, but all my friends started playing again, and at school, at lunch, we would have duels, and a lot of them consisted of Elemental Heroes. I have GX to thank for that, for, like, bringing me back into it, at least for a period of time. I remember everybody wanted to be like Jaden Yuki, which was the show's main protagonist, and why not? I've always liked Jaden as a character, or Judai in the sub. Cyrus was his best friend, and you know then there's Alexis, Bastion, Zane, Crowler, Chaz. Much like the original Yu-Gi-Oh!, there was a very colorful cast of characters. And I thought the concept of them being in a school was really awesome because it was so different. It was such a different way than the previous series, which was taking itself very serious. And again, I'm talking about the dub of GX. It didn't seem like it was taking itself too serious up until the Shadow Riders arc. And that's when I remember the show getting a lot better. And I already really liked it. I really liked Jaden's happy-go-lucky attitude. Jaden, I think, is a very developed character. Because in Season 4, he's very hardened. And he's, you know, he doesn't... not as uppity and you know, happy-go-lucky as he was. And I remember there actually being an episode where him and Alexis do a tag tournament, and she's just like trying to get him to smile again, and he finally does, and it was like this big moment. Jaden is a character that I try to mold myself from, at least when I'm dueling. I try to have fun when I'm dueling, is what I'm saying, because I think that's what dueling's about. It's about having fun, and I think that's what this show GX really had, was just an element of fun to it, and I absolutely loved that they took that direction, at least, you know, for the first season. Yeah, overall, I have very fond memories of GX. Actually, me and my buddy Josh used to watch it after school all the time, and me and my buddies at school, we used to talk about the previous episode, and we were like the Big Bang Theory cast. It was it was a good time. Definitely something I look back on with very fond memories, and as I said, GX kind of resurrected my interest, at least for the time being.
Clustering wishes will become a new shining star. Become the path its light shines upon. Synchro Summon! Take flight, Stardust Dragon!
Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds is a bit, I wouldn't say difficult for me to talk about, but the way I came across it was very random. I think it was me and Josh one day. We were just kind of like channel surfing, and it was on like CW for Kids or something. And I was like, oh, a new Yu-Gi-Oh! Series. Okay, let's check this out. And it was the episode where Yusei was dueling Bolt Tanner in the facility. And I think my first reaction to the show was I actually hated it. I didn't like that it went back to a more like serious, darker tone. And I didn't care for Yusei as much. I mean, I think I was just more or less like pissed off at the way they ended GX, at least the dub of GX, how they didn't even dub Season 4, and they left a lot of dub-only viewers on a huge cliffhanger. And I think there was a little bit of resentment towards 5Ds. I've seen a few people that started off with a little bit of resentment, but I went back and watched 5Ds from the beginning. The dub, obviously, and I actually really grew to like it. And I know the sub version, again, a lot darker, but I really enjoyed the dub version of 5Ds, and I'm not trying to step on anyone's toes, but I guess the best thing I could tell you is my experience with 5Ds is the show introduced me to what is now my favorite Yu-Gi-Oh! Card of all time, Stardust Dragon. There's a lot of interesting things about 5Ds. I think the concept of turbo dueling is pretty outlandish, and this is a show where we decide the fate of the world from a card game. And then there's the popular meme, card games on motorcycles, which was done by the famous YouTube channel Little Karibo, which is just hilarious. I absolutely love that stuff. But as far as like the show itself goes, I think it benefited very well from going back to a more serious tone. And Yusei is up there with Jaden as like one of my favorite characters. I think Yusei was a very good addition to the Yu-Gi-Oh! Franchise. I think and you look at his look, he's got like the badass motorcycle, and he carries the theme of the first season where, like friendship and all, and close relationships and whatnot. And that's like the overall theme in a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh! Shows is like friendship. And as cheesy as that sounds, it's true. And I also really enjoyed just the cast of characters, much like every other Yu-Gi-Oh! Show I've mentioned. Yusei being at the top of that list. I've also I like Crow. Even though Crow, there was an interesting story about Crow. He was actually supposed to be a Dark Signer originally, which Blackwings as a archetype got so popular, and this is coming from a guy who plays the TCG. Blackwings were very strong. I think they were top deck in a format at the time. Then I think they got hit by the ban list and just kind of lost their edge. But they became so popular that Crow's original Dark Signer story arc was scrapped in favor of being a sixth signer, even though the show's called 5Ds. So it's amazing how the fan impact really impacted 5Ds. The fans' input had a giant impact. And actually, it doesn't even stop there. The show was originally supposed to end after the Dark Signer arc, but it was so popular they kept going. And a lot of people say you notice that in the sense that story feels very rushed. And I guess I could see that, but I still really enjoy watching it every now and again. Is it my favorite Yu-Gi-Oh! Series? Maybe. I really do enjoy watching. I think there was some great duels and some great moments and great characters. And like I said, for them to go back into their more serious roots as opposed to what GX tried to do, I think it was welcome. I think it did very well for itself. Yeah, I mean, I can't commend them enough. And it's actually considered one of the better Yu-Gi-Oh! Series. And I completely agree.
Now, I overlay level 4 Go 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 Golem and Doggy Diver. With these two monsters, I build the overlay network. IXC summon number 39, Utopia!
I remember the announcement of Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal. I actually first heard about it through a commercial that was advertising XC's monsters. Yeah, Zexal definitely had a different vibe to it. Our main protagonist, which is Yuma Tsukumo, is he's kind of crappy in the beginning as a duelist. He's kind of crappy in the beginning of the show. He's like losing all the time. He's kind of annoying too. I think a lot of people in the dub. I don't know how he is in the subbed version, but I do know in the dub a lot of people think he's annoying. I have a bit of a love-hate relationship with Yuma. I don't totally hate the character. I think the character definitely grew and developed over time. Plus, much like Jaden, he had a very like happy-go-lucky kind of attitude, and you know, dueling's all about having fun kind of thing, making friends, making connections, and so on and so forth. His deck was also like, me and my buddy Vinny, we used to make fun of the names of the monsters in his deck. You know, like Go 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 Golem, Gaga Ga Magician, Zubaba Knight, Acha-Cha Archer. We're like, what the hell is this? Like, what, are they gonna have a card called Shit Pants or something? I mean, obviously Yuma's not the only character in the show. He's not even my favorite character in the show at all. My favorite character in Zexal is Kite, or Kaito in the sub, I think his name is. He had those badass Galaxy Photon monsters, you know, Galaxy Ice Photon Dragon, Galaxy Soldier, Galaxy Knight. I don't know if he had Galaxy Knight, but I do know he had like Galaxy Photon style. And Zexal also introduced us to the number cards, which were pretty cool. It was a pretty cool concept. For a while, me and my buddy Vinny, we were like trying to collect all the numbers, but they just keep coming out with new numbers, it seems like, every year, so kind of gave up on that. But back to the show itself. There was also Astral, which was very interesting because that created, Yuma and Astral had that like Yugi and Yama Yugi kind of thing, only, you know, Yuma wouldn't turn into Astral during a duel. Astral would just kind of float around in the background. I always really liked Astral. I always thought he was kind of an interesting, like, kind of a fish out of water thing, but he was also incredibly intelligent, and just some of the banter between him and Yuma, at least in the English dub, was hilarious. And there's also, much like every Yu-Gi-Oh! Show, there's a very colorful cast of characters. You have Tori, Bronk, Quattro, Shark, Rio, Quentin, Trey, Vetrix, the Barian. There was also Dextra and Nistro, who were really, really cool just because of how different they were. They were very much opposites. Dextra was very calm and collective, and Nistro was just over the top and screaming a lot. And I think the one character I remember fondly, and I'm always going to remember fondly, is probably one of the best villains that all of Yu-Gi-Oh! Has ever produced, and that is Vector. And I remember when I first saw him, I just thought he was a whack job Barian that, you know, just was just evil for the hell of it. But then you look at his backstory, like he was like this prince, and, you know, he wanted to end the wars that his people were fighting, and his dad was not okay with that. And his dad goes to kill him, but his mom takes the hit, and then his dad dies of like a heart attack or something. So he literally witnesses his parents dying in front of him. Not just that, his dad murders his mom. That's a lot to take in. That would screw up a lot of people. And honestly, the character Vector, he kind of reminds me of Carnage from Spider-Man. Very insane, very over the top, very memorable, and just very disturbed and very disturbing. And I think for that reason, Vector is one of my favorite villains. As far as Zexal as a show, I don't think, for me personally, it's not up there with like 5Ds and Duel Monsters. I think it's actually below GX for me. I definitely don't hate it, but I also don't love it either. It's just, you know, it's there. It's got its good characters. It does have arguably one of the best villains in all of Yu-Gi-Oh! As I mentioned in Vector. And Kite is an awesome character too. I actually think he might just be the best duelist in the entire show. So, because he only lost, I think, one duel? The whole show? I think he only lost once. Zexal is a show that I go back and watch every now and again, maybe a select few episodes. So Zexal, it's like a mixed bag for me, is what I'm saying. It has awesome characters, it has annoying, shitty characters, but you could make that argument for almost any of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Shows. But for me personally, Zexal kind of falls, it's a mixed bag. I do enjoy going back and watching it every now and again, but overall it's a very mixed bag. When it comes to Arc 5 and Vrains, I've seen some episodes of Arc 5, but I've never actually sat down and watched any of it. And I have not seen one episode of Vrains yet, so I don't have an opinion on those two shows at all. As far as the shows go, that's, you know, it's up to Zexal for me. I haven't gone past Zexal yet. Well, kind of, sort of. I've seen a few episodes of Arc 5, but I've never sat down and binged it or anything like that. My lineage, as far as the TV shows go, stops at Zexal. So maybe in the future I'll sit down and watch Arc 5 and Vrains if I ever actually have the time to like binge all that. But we'll see. We'll see. I just recently started competing in some local tournaments. I used my Burning Abyss deck. I do think that's the most tournament capable deck. And my first go, I did okay. I won a few duels. I think I went like 3 and 4 in total duels. I think I went 1 and 2 in matches. I didn't place at all. I didn't place top 5 or anything, so it's just a fun experience. I don't remember my record for the second time that I competed. I know it was another losing record. I think it was like 1 and 2 again. I don't like 100% remember, but again, much like the first time, I didn't top. I didn't even place at all, so a bit forgettable, but they were fun. I play this game to have fun, and I go to tournaments to have fun, and that's what I got out of it. I had fun. Now, the third time I competed, it was the same place, it was locals. I actually did really well. I got swept my first match, and it sucks too, because I made one mistake. and it cost me the whole duel. I was a little bummed, but you know, it's just a game, so I'm not terribly angry over that. But second round was actually against Vinny. We dueled again. I documented it. My first experience in locals in a past video, and I mentioned that me and Vinny dueled in the second round. Well, it was the same case here, and I beat him the first time. He beat me the second time, and then I beat him the third time. So I went from being 0-2 to 3-3. Then the next round, I ended up sweeping. It was another player, and I swept him. So I was 5-3 at this point. You know, actually, I went 7-3. Okay, because my next there was actually a fourth round, and I got paired up with a guy, but he left. So the judge actually awarded me the W. Said I won because my opponent left. So I actually ended up I ended up going 7-3 because I guess that's a sweep, but I don't know. So I went, I think, like 6 or 7-3. I mean, I guess it doesn't matter. I was 3-1 in matches. Actually, yeah, because I had 4 matches. I was 3-1, so it was really cool. And I actually I placed at number 5. I topped locals. I was number 5. I guess I can't say I topped it because I was number 5. But yeah, I was stoked. I mean, it was so cool to be able to place in the top 5. It was just awesome overall. I guess as a nerd, I take a lot of pride in that. Yeah, just overall, it was really fun. I actually won like $16 in store credit, and I used it to buy some cards that I needed for some decks that I'm building. So it was a lot of fun. I'm kind of bummed that I waited this long to compete. But at the same time, I think it's also a good thing because I've been able to learn new strategies. I've been able to just kind of grow and mature as a person and a player. And meeting new people is always fun. So just overall, I really enjoyed it. And I'm looking forward to competing in some tournaments in the future.
Funny story. I watched the very first episode, and yeah, that's what got me hooked into the game. Honestly, your ghost tricks are annoying.
Okay, the ghost tricks are annoying. I hear that.
We should find a tournament, honestly, because I'd like to be as a partner if we could find a tag tournament.
That'd be cool. I don't know of any, but that'd be awesome. You actually in that vein, you've been to tournaments. You've done locals. Have you ever won any?
I came second.
Seriously?
Yes.
That's awesome, dude.
I was the Jinzo deck, if you're wondering. Back when Jinzo was popular.
Oh yeah, when Jinzo was huge. Okay, so let's get more into that. Was that the only tournament you ever entered?
I've been to 3.
Been 3, okay.
At Romeo and Juliet's.
Oh yeah. All right, the locals. What's your favorite deck
Of all time or right now?
Like, well, whatever at the moment. What's your
all
favorite
time
deck?
6 Samurais, and right now 6 Samurais.
Same answer. So, what kind of decks are you putting together? Because you're putting together quite a bit.
Moonlights, which are my pendulums. Dragon Rulers, because it's gonna be my not tournament deck basically. Windups, that's in construction. I know it's 2018, but windups are one of my favorite decks.
I like windups.
I have Black Winds in construction.
That's a good one too.
I have Magician Girls. They look fun.
Yeah.
I'm also working on Drag Unities. Well, just the extra deck. Everything else is done.
There you go.
Drag Unities. It's a deck that
I don't know much about it. I never dabbled.
They're a deck that you got to learn how to play with.
I mean, yeah.
I'm also building Blue Eyes.
Oh yeah.
Thank you, Kaiba, for support. But yeah. That's what I'm doing right now.
It's easy for Justin here to wipe the floor with me. He knows pretty much a lot of combos that I haven't really thought of or haven't really considered. I'm just very generic at the game, and I might just throw down a card or two. He might throw out a crap ton of combinations that I'm just looking like, oh, okay, I'm gonna get my butt smoked. Like, let's see, pretty much right now, and it normally hasn't been like this back then. Before he's gotten a lot of more cards, I can pretty much put up a more decent fight than I already do now. I'm very surprised that I can manage to take like at least 300 life points away from you or pretty much anyone. I don't really suspect anything at all, honestly. The only thing that surprises me is when each and every trade that we do, the pile of requests that you want gets bigger and bigger every single time. That's the only thing that surprises me. Like every time I bring my binder over, yeah, I know he wants to trade. And then we get finished trading, next thing I know, there's literally 3 piles literally waiting for me. And that's when I go, really? I honestly can't say I was actually into the game. I would say like when I was 8 to 9 years old, I just have like a random deck of Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon cards that I would want to show off to when my older cousins would come over and visit, along with my next door neighbor, but they would always be playing basketball all day or try to show off, and they'd be like, yeah, Brandon, that's cool, and just going back to shooting hoops, and I'm just like, oh. But I didn't really officially get back into the game until probably when I was like in my junior year of high school, when my 2 friends, we would hang out at one of their houses, and then they would let me borrow their decks. On one of their decks, which was pretty much a whole insect deck, I didn't get very far. Like, I would always be the first one out while they're just sitting there still with pretty much, one would still have 7,800 life points, and the other would have like an absurd amount of life points due to a combination of soul absorption and the dimensional rift magic card, whichever one it was called. And so he would have like literally, I would say maybe 230 life points. That's how long the duel was. And I was just sitting here like, and you went for me. The only scrub in the group, and you went after me. See, this is why we can't have nice things. And so, ever since that incident, I decided to go out and get my own cards, build my own deck, which Justin can easily mop the floor with me with. And I can easily mop the floor with them because my deck was just like, I would say random, because they honestly will not, they will take a look at my cards after we duel, but they would still not know what I would get or what I would play down because that's how random it was. So ever since then, that was pretty much, between the 3 of them, I was undefeated. I came back with a vengeance until this guy showed up and utterly destroyed me. I wouldn't say I run anyone because all of them are just like bad. My main one, as I said, is completely random. I do have an Elemental Hero deck, which was supposed to be originally an Elemental Hero / Destiny Hero deck, but I only could fit so much in there, so it's just a strict Elemental Hero deck. And I have a third one that's a Dragon deck, and those are pretty much the 3 only decks that I have. And if I could build anyone, I probably would, but I don't think any one of them really catches my eye at the moment. I would deem myself as a collector at the moment.
So, Josh, you used to play Yu-Gi-Oh! A lot, back when we were in middle school. Interesting chapter of our lives at that point. Do you remember how hard it was for me to beat you back in middle school?
Well, back in middle school, and like we didn't really play by the rules
No,
either. We just kind of played like how they used to play in the show.
Yeah, the first season where it was like nothing. There's no rule. You just throw the rule book out the window. There's nothing.
So I mean, but that was back then, and then we started playing more by the rules, and then we started buying packs more, and things began to change, and it became more competitive. But after a while, it wasn't something I was interested in as much anymore. So
Yeah, well, I remember I started taking my decks to school, and I would duel some of my classmates, and I scored some good trades back in those days. I remember the Chaos Emperor Dragon I scored. Holy crap, was that amazing. That was awesome. So, okay, I got my trade binder right here. I want you to go through this and tell me all the cards that you legitimately remember, and cards that are just like, what the hell is this? Where did this come from?
yeah, none of this is from. Actually, Blockman's familiar. So that's one out of a shit ton already. Let's see. Yeah, none of it is familiar. Sinister Serpent is familiar.
That's an older card.
Yeah, I definitely remember that. That is OG.
Yeah, twin-headed King Rex, yeah.
Yeah.
Rex Raptor, that was pretty cool.
That was original. Let's see. I recognize these three. Memory Crusher's an older card, I think, too. So is Charcoal and Patchy.
Yep, Charcoal and Patchy and D-Time, ding ding. Malfunction was, that actually, I found out about that card because of you. Because you picked up a Shadow of Infinity pack and pulled it.
Gosh, that was so long ago.
Oh, yeah.
That's old. That's old. That's old. So I recognize those three. That's still... I still feel like that could probably be used in a deck.
Lava Golem?
Yeah, if it's not banned. I feel like it could be. I mean, you're just like, oh yeah, here. I want 2 of your cards. Fuck you. So...
There used to be a combo with that and
OG
Gravity
too.
Bind. That's some deadly shit.
Well, that's old. I remember that deck. That's old deck. Kaiser Seahorse is old. Blackluster Soldier.
I was just gonna say, you better recognize Blackluster Soldier.
Relinquished, one of the originals. Spirit Reaper. Pretty old.
Relinquished actually has a deck now.
Does it really?
Oh yeah. It's getting a Link Monster too, so...
I don't recognize that card though, you know.
Winged Dragon. The Winged Dragon. I almost said Winged Dragon Raw. Winged Dragon. Winged Dragon, Guardian of the Fortress.
Yeah, and then Express Roid, I recognize both those too. Thean. Me and my cousin Tyler used to use these cards so wrong back in the day.
That was like your boss monster back when we were playing.
And never used them correctly.
No, but we didn't play by the rules, so who cares?
Let's see. Yeah, I don't know any of these cards. Oh, Red Dragon Archfiend, I know. So.
My Red Dragon Archfiend!
You, Jay. Visor Shock is old. I had a foil version of that at one
I think
point.
I actually picked that up from a garage sale.
Drill Ground's fairly older now. I feel like that was like 5D's era.
5D's, yep. Entirely.
I for a quick second, I thought that said Nutella. So it's Nutella Dragonfly. And I was like, geez, even
Nutella.
Yu-Gi-Oh! Has Nutella in it now?
Well, they basically have Five Nights at Freddy's and Fright for Monsters. So, I mean, you know, I wouldn't put it past Konami to put, like, Nutella.
You have, like, enough Gen X monsters to make a deck over here.
I actually am building a Gen X deck, just not with those monsters.
And you have, like, these fabled things. Yeah, a lot of this I don't know of. Like, see, because, like, the Pendulum monsters.
Yeah, like that.
I have zero.
That actually caught me off guard. I'll be honest, when I first heard about Pendulum monsters, I was like, what the hell are these things? I'm not sure.
Dystopia,
Might be Pendulum.
Despondent. 5,000 attack and defense. What the fuck? Holy shit. Do-do-do. Go, go, go. No, no, no. No. Is Dodo and like another group?
Kind of, sort of. It was made popular by Yuma.
Are they a sect of the Go-Go-Go's?
Kind of. It was made popular by Yuma in Zexal.
Red Eyes Retro Dragon. He was so cool, he went retro.
It's a good card, too. Oh, Mech Lords.
Mech Lord Astro Dragon Asterisk.
Yeah. Mech Lords were like the antagonist monsters in 5Ds. Second season. After the Dark Signer arc.
Malefic Truth Dragon, another 5,000 monster.
Malefic's nuts.
This thing is ridiculous with 5,000 attack and defense. I remembered probably, out of all these cards, I probably knew, probably a handful, maybe 10, 20 at the most. Most of these are cards I didn't recognize, or cards that, I knew maybe heard of, but didn't, have never seen before. So, honestly, this is all new to me. It's been a long time since I've really been, into any of this, so I've definitely, fallen behind. So, there are times where I definitely, am lost, and because you know the effects, you're reading faster than I am, so I'm not able to keep up. So, yeah, there are times where I do get lost, because I'm not able to actually keep up with what's going on in the game, because I'm not familiar at all with what you're playing anymore. Hell, I'm not actually all the way up to date with all the actual different formats now, as far as pendulum summoning and link summoning.
Yep.
I'm completely illiterate to how that works. So, I grasp synchro summoning and exceed summoning. I'll play a little bit here and there, but to actually spend the money to get a deck, no, it's not that.
It's got to be something you're really into if you're going to commit to that.
It's just to actually get a deck that's competitive and actually, to get a deck that's competitive, you still got to invest money that I don't have. Or at least I don't have to spend on cards.
That's understandable. Yu-Gi-Oh! Is very sentimental to me. I've made so many friends throughout the years by playing this game, and I do think I'm going to make more friends. So it's kind of funny how the biggest theme from the shows, or at least the original, was friendship and, all that cheesy nonsense. But, most of my life, I've made a ton of friends because of the game, because of Yu-Gi-Oh! And I feel like it's, for the most part, it's a good community. It's one that I'm very happy to be a part of, and it's brought me so much joy over the years that I don't know where I would be without it. And I've taken brief breaks in between, and I've gotten in and out of the game, but it's a game that is so fun to me, and like I said, I don't know where I would be without it. I don't know what I'd be doing. I just don't know, I get such a kick out of playing this. I don't think I ever want to stop. I think it's going to be something I do for the rest of my life. And maybe the game won't be as popular when I'm a lot older. Maybe it will be. I don't know. I can't predict the future, but I, for one, am looking forward to it. I'm very happy to see how this game is going to evolve and get better, and just overall become different. And that might seem scary to some people, but to me, I'm looking forward to it. I really am. I've met so many great people over the years that play the game. I've played against good and bad players. It's been a wonderful experience for me, and I'm looking forward to just seeing where it goes from here on out. You know, I always like to look to the future with optimism. You know, and like I said, that might not be the case for everybody, but I just think with this, for me at least, it's something I'm very passionate about, and it's something I look forward to almost all the time. I think the future looks very bright, and I'm looking forward to going on that journey.